Welcome back. Senior army officials from over 20 African countries converged in Kampala to discuss strategies for sharing security information. The meet, dubbed the African Endeavour 2010, sought to improve information sharing among African armies to combat security threats like terrorism. Christo Chamringa reported on the happenings at the forum that was officially opened by Uganda's Deputy Chief of Defence Forces, Lieutenant General Ivan Koreta.
The army officers from 29 African countries and members of the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, underscored the need to share information on combating security threats in the region. The initiative will support African countries with communication equipment to enable them share useful security information to protect their citizens. Uganda's Deputy Defense Chief, Lieutenant General Ivan Koreta, who opened the meeting, emphasized the need for cooperation to the attentive officers.
Africa and its partners are adopting to help find solutions to the increasing threat to security on the continent. We need to evolve a vibrant platform such as this.
The head of Uganda's delegation, Colonel Peter Elwelu, says the current global security challenges require concerted efforts by military forces.
We have different communication systems, therefore we are trying to see how we can harmonize these systems, having one radio which we can communicate with each other without any problems.
The U.S. Africa Command, based in Germany, conducts security engagements and other military activities around the continent to promote a stable and secure African environment in support of the U.S. foreign policy. But the Africa Endeavour lead planner, Britt Tolbert, emphasized that this cooperation is not for U.S. interests at the expense of Africa.
It is the Africans' exercise, and the point of the exercise is to increase the capacity of the Africans.
Bottlenecks and infrastructure damage held back aid efforts in Haiti, where Tuesday's earthquake has left as many as 45,000 to 50,000 people dead. By Friday, there were increased anger among survivors who had spent as many as 3 days without food or shelter. $270 million has been pledged internationally for the relief efforts. The United Nations mobilized 37 search and rescue teams from a global network to the capital. Haiti's Port-au-Prince small airport was filled to capacity, and U.S. air traffic controllers have taken charge of air traffic control to help manage the influx of planes.
Many people were gathered in Port-au-Prince's parks, either sleeping on the ground or under makeshift tents as they waited for aid to arrive. Ansel Haz, a journalist in Port-au-Prince, says in the absence of international rescue workers, the people were working together to dig through the debris for survivors. Cargo planes carrying emergency aid have begun to arrive at the airport in Port-au-Prince, but so far the deliveries were insufficient to sustain the population of 2 million. EU states, Russia and China are among those sending rescue and medical teams by plane, while pledges of aid have been made by countries around Latin America. UN peacekeepers, who played a key role in maintaining public order in Haiti even before the quake, have been deployed to control any outbreaks of unrest as reports come in of looting. The situation in the capital is increasingly desperate, with no sense of a coordinated rescue effort, scant medical supplies and aid only trickling in.
Help is beginning to arrive, but of course it is desperately needed, and as you're all aware, every hour counts in this kind of situation where people are trapped under the rubble and desperately in need of being rescued.
Haitian President René Prévost could not give an official estimate of the dead, saying he had heard it could be at about 30 to 50,000. Other reports put the casualty figure at 100,000.
In a roundup of other news making headlines this past week, we bring you the tragic story of a Kayunga woman beaten nearly to death by her significant other and the cruel, unusual punishment that a Masaka family used on their son. A 12-year-old boy from Butale village in Masaka district became the sad victim of parental torture after he was beaten and set on fire by his parents for alleged misconduct. The primary 5 pupil of Kida Muslim Primary School was being punished for continuously skipping classes. The punishment left him bedridden. The parents, Hussein and Saidat Chambade, did not deny beating their son but said it was to discipline him. They are now in police custody. In an incident of love gone sour, a man in Mukono district hacked his girlfriend Jen Nasaka, critically injuring her. The 40-year-old man, who escaped lynching by an angry mob, was arrested by police who confined him at a police station, awaiting charges of attempted murder in court. Subi FM, one of the 3 radio stations closed during the riots that rocked Kampala in September 2009, is back on air. The FM station was put under strict guidelines from the Uganda Broadcasting Council. In the guidelines, the FM station will now have to train and screen all its potential employees before hiring them. Subi FM was shut down in September last year after the Broadcasting Council accused the studio's radio presenters of inciting violence. That roundup concludes this week's edition of 7 Days. In the coming week, we'll be reporting on how political parties will be preoccupied with the by-elections in Bale and Budiope. Also to watch are the developments in Haiti as aid workers and governments embark on recovery rescue process after the devastating quake. Here in Kampala, Makerere University's week-long graduations start on Monday. We'll also be keeping an eye on the security at Uganda's international airport in Entebbe in the wake of security threats. Our lovely week ahead. I've been your presenter, Maurice Mugisha. Good afternoon.